How's it going, everybody? My name is Matt Dinerman, track announcer here at Oaklawn Park, and this is Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, presented to you and sponsored by Oaklawn Park. Well, for those who are Oaklawn fans, we had a terrific weekend of racing. Sunday racing, we had some weather that was a little bit chilly. We had to move the cards this past week, I should say. We had Rebel Day Saturday was moved to Sunday afternoon, and then we had a special Monday race card. So we had 2 days of racing this past week, and really 99% of this program here on Out of the Starting Gate is going to be recapping Rebel Day. Just a terrific card. We had great stakes races, 5 of them, good quality, big fields throughout the card. I would say this is probably one of the best cards in America that we've seen in 2025. It's hard to top it. Our Rebel Stakes, the feature race, which went as race number 11, had 13 entrants in the race, and it was a very competitive race, and we'll talk about that recap in a little while. The Razorback had a full field of 14. The Honeybee, for 3-year-old fillies, also had a large field of 13, and we had a couple of other very impressive winners that we're going to go over here. And we'll also have a special guest a little bit later in the show, trainer Johnny Ortiz, who saddled the winner of the Honeybee. We'll get to her, Johnny, in a little while. But for now, we're going to take a look at this Rebel Day Stakes recap, and we're going to go in chronological race order here, starting with the first race on the program here. And let's talk about it. Race number 1 on a 12-race program on Rebel Sunday featured Clever Again, number 3, for trainer Steve Asmussen. You take a look at this stretch run here, and Clever Again was coming off a layoff by American Pharaoh out of a Galileo mare. This horse is bred with that in mind to run on any surface, dirt, turf, synthetic. I don't know, maybe you could run on sand too. And if you take a look at this, very impressive kick down the lane. Jose Ortiz, one of many out-of-town riders coming in for the day, had the mount. And this horse kicked away like a good horse, had plenty left for the final furlong, won by open lengths. And I'm going to take a stand and say that this colt could be the best 3-year-old that Steve Asmussen has. I know Magnitude was very impressive in the Risen Star. He has since been put to the sidelines due to a bone chip. And I think Clever Again, definitely the best horse that Steve Asmussen, in terms of 3-year-olds, has in training. In my personal opinion, I thought this was an extremely impressive race. And the only time he's ever run, remember, it was at Keeneland, all the way back in April. They've got baby races just over a half mile. And this horse ran second that day, beaten ahead to Dream Away, who coincidentally I called at Monmouth Park, my other gate at Monmouth Park in New Jersey. I was able to call her when a stakes race on the turf sprinting. But Clever Again had some fast works leading up to this race. And the fact of the matter is, Steve Asmussen was confident enough to send this runner here, not only on Rebel Day, a big day where everybody's paying attention, and usually really good maiden types of horses show up, but he was able to get this horse and confident enough to run him 1 1/16 off just that one baby race at Keeneland, then took some time off over the summer and the fall. He is clearly a horse with talent and clearly a horse to be reckoned with down the road. So with that in mind, Clever Again, one of our up-and-comers on this week's episode of Out of the Starting Gate. Moving along to race number 4, the first of 5 stakes Rebel Day was the 4th race, the Carousel for filly and mare sprinters, going the distance of 6 furlongs, and it was great to see Justique run another really good race for Cherie DeVaux. Jose Ortiz, this was his second of 4 wins on the Rebel Day card. Jose with a big day. And speaking of Jose Ortiz, I tweeted it out. He was the MVP in this race here. You take a look at the stretch run. He had a little bit opening on the inside, just a very narrow gap there to go through, and he punched forward, and Justique, she said, let's go through, kicked on through down at the rail, and defeated Benedetta by a narrow margin. It was a very, very good effort. And Benedetta herself ran a very good race, looking for her 5th win in a row, had won the American Beauty last month, had to settle for second. Also a very good effort, but Justique was best. Clearly, Justique is a sprinter. If you look at her best form, it's sprinting on the dirt. When she was a 2-year-old filly, she sprinted on the dirt and was very impressive. But for a long time, while in California in John Sheriff's stable, they tried routing her on the turf, and she never showed much of a kick. Cherie DeVaux picked up this gal here just a few months ago into her barn at the fairgrounds in Louisiana, and Cherie said, we're getting her back to the sprint game. on the dirt. And we saw what happened that day where she won by open lengths in an allowance race. Cherie now putting her in the carousel, gets the win sprinting. So clearly this filly by Justify, owned by CRK Stable, she is a one-turn dirt sprinter. And it wouldn't even be surprising, given her pedigree and how much they paid for, I believe it was $700,000, if we see her down the road in the Grade 1 Madison at Keeneland. That would not be a surprise to me at all. Cherie DeVoe, of course, has a large presence in Kentucky, and this gal here picking up that Grade 1 placing or maybe even a win, that would be huge in terms of broodmare status. So Justique in race 4, the Carousel, this past Sunday, I thought was game, impressive, and it was a very good effort from her, and clearly she wants to go one turn on the dirt. One race later, a half hour later though, we might have seen the best horse on the entire program in race 5, a maiden special weight for 3-year-old colts and geldings, and he'd never run before. That's right, Cornucopian for the Bob Baffert barn. The last time Bob sent a first-time starter out of town to compete on a big day, think about it, Barnes in Kentucky at Churchill Downs, and Barnes, a $3 million purchase, is one of the favorites in the future pools for the Kentucky Derby. We're going to see him this weekend in the San Felipe at Santa Anita. Let's talk about Cornucopian, though. Cornucopian breaking from post 7 with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard, one of the top jockeys not only in the nation but around the world. Got this horse to the lead, but really on track, the eye test. He ran a phenomenal race, given the fact that he had pressure on the lead, turning for home. Irad shook the reins at him. He responded very quickly, opened up 2.5 lengths. Within a blink of an eye, he was probably about 5 ahead, coasted in, was wrapped up late. And when you take a look at the gallop out, he had a monster gallop out. Looked like he wanted to do a lot more after running very quickly. Final time, 109 for 6 furlongs. He got a 101 buyer on debut. It was a very, very impressive race. I think a lot of handicappers and fans of horse racing, their heads were spinning watching that race. But at the same time, Bob Baffert, he is one that every year debuts impressive maiden winners, horses that are future stars, and Cornucopian looks like one. He is another up-and-comer for us this week here on the Out of the Starting Gate show. And Cornucopian is one I'm very excited about. Timing-wise, it'll be interesting because we're in February now. It's rushing a horse like that. It's a lot to ask of a horse, no matter how talented they are, to get this horse to win, let's just say next month, a Derby prep, a Kentucky Derby prep, and then go to the Kentucky Derby just in lifetime start number 3. That'd be a lot to ask of them. And there's a long year ahead. There are other big races in store for us down the way here this year. But at the same time, he is uber talented, very impressive. And keep this in mind. This horse in the summertime before he ever ran, he ran against Citizen Bull in the mornings. And he absolutely outworked Citizen Bull every single morning, week after week at Del Mar. And Citizen Bull, we know him as the 2-year-old champion for the Eclipse Awards in 2024. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in November at Del Mar. So all this stuff indicating Cornucopian is the real deal. He's the goods. The question will be how far he can go. He's certainly bred to run a little bit longer. He's by Into Mischief, out of a mare who's produced multiple graded stakes winners. Beatbox was a router on the turf. He was a grade 3 winner. Guarana, probably the best sibling of all. Guarana, a filly that won the grade 1 Madison going 7 furlongs, also won the Coaching Club American Oaks going 1 1/8 at Saratoga, another grade 1 there. And Magical Dance won another sibling who never won a stake, but she was stakes placed at 2 in the grade 2 Amsterdam going 1 turn. So the pedigree's there, the looks this weekend we saw there. Right human connections to be a really nice horse and to be a star on the dirt. That's Cornucopian. He was in race 5 on Rebel Day for Bob Baffert and Irad Ortiz. We moved to race 10. Race 10 was the Razorback Handicap, really fun race on the road to the Oaklawn Handicap, 1.16 race, 14, a full field entered, and all of them went. And we saw in the stretch, one of the best stretch runs, arguably the best stretch run on the day, with a 3-horse driving finish, as you see right here. And between horses, Alexander Helios, 8-1 for Saffie Joseph Jr., gets the bob, nails Banishing at the finish. Looking at this race, recapping it, I watched it a few times. Alexander Helios is a horse that is very well bred, first of all. He is a half-sibling to Rombauer, who won the 2021 Preakness. Alexander Helios has the pedigree to be a big horse, a good horse, but his sire, Cairo Prince, is one that hasn't really made too many waves in the sire division, looking at the sires that we have across the nation here in North America. But he's got a good one here. Obviously, the bottom side of the pedigree made a difference as well, being out of the mare Kashmir, who is the dam of Rombauer, and Alexander Helios picking up his first career graded stakes win in this race. Now, Alexander Helios, he showed a lot of grit. He had every chance to throw in the towel when the runner-up finisher Banishing came up alongside, and he kept digging in, wanted to win the race. It was a great effort. Second start off a layoff for Saffie Joseph Jr., who has very high percentages second off the break. I think Alexander Helios is maybe a grade 3, grade 2 type of horse. I don't necessarily see him being a grade 1 type of horse unless he significantly improves, but I think he's very talented. It's taken him a while to figure things out. Even when he was in Michael McCarthy's barn as a 2-year-old, he was a very well-regarded horse. He's finally figuring things out at age 5. He comes off a very nice Razorback win and also 2 starts ago at Gulfstream where he won an allowance race for fun. This horse is getting good, so it'll be fun to watch him going a mile, mile and a 16th. I don't think he wants to run too much farther, maybe a mile and an 1/8. Don't think he's a classic distance horse, and neither is Banishing. But I will say Banishing had me proven wrong, because Banishing had won 2 sprint races here at Oaklawn Park extremely impressively with triple-digit Beyer speed figures, and I thought this horse would have a really tough time going the 2 turns while being able to run those same types of races that we've seen with his sprints. But he ran very, very effectively, did everything but win the race. Banishing, I don't know if he just loves Oaklawn Park because he looks like a new horse at Oaklawn, or whether moving to the barn of David Jacobson, and David Jacobson, his training program, whatever he's doing in the mornings, the way he's feeding these horses, maybe this horse just simply does well for this program. We see that from time to time. Some horses just thrive on certain training programs versus another trainer for whatever reason. But Banishing is a horse that I was very impressed with. It'll be interesting to see if he cuts back this horse, David Jacobson, with Banishing and runs him in the Whitmore or the Count Fleet later on in the meet, or maybe he tries to run him routing again where big money is in play here at Oaklawn Park. First Mission, he ran 3rd in the race. One more horse to talk about. I thought he ran fine. He stalked the pace, got everything his own way to run a successful race, and he did run a good race, but he was 3rd best. I will also note, though, the track profile on Rebel Day throughout the card, it very much catered to speed. So I'm not saying you should throw a line in these races with horses from off the pace that didn't run on. At the same time, you do have to note some of these horses that ran good races may have been aided just a little bit by the faster track, which really did cater to those front runners throughout the running of each race, both sprinting and routing. Razorback, great race there, as you saw. Alexander Helios gets the nose win over Banishing and First Mission. After the Razorback, we had the Honeybee for 3-year-old fillies, $500,000 grade 3 event going a mile and a 16th. A field of 13 were entered, and at the finish, Quietside got the job done, and I'm very happy to share we just chatted with Johnny Ortiz about his champion filly Quietside in the Honeybee. Take a listen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, alongside me is Johnny Ortiz, a trainer here at Oaklawn Park that has a large string of horses. Johnny, welcome to the show. We're going to get right to the action here. Of course, you had a very big Sunday, Rebel Day, with your winner Quietside in the Honeybee. So well done. I'm sure you're feeling good about that.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me here. It's definitely something to be happy about, and good moral boost for us, for sure.
For sure. I think for any barn, no matter if you're a big outfit, small outfit, you win a big stake like that, not only you, but the whole team that does all the work behind the scenes, really happy about a victory like that. We're going to get right to the analysis here on Quietside and the Honeybee, specifically Quietside first. We'll talk about a few other horses in your stable, but we'll get to Quietside first. Obviously, we had some pretty rough weather, and with that, all trainers had to call audibles when it came to training horses, and the audible that you called was very unique. You sent her to the fairgrounds to have her final workout in preparation for this race. Tell us a little bit about how that decision came about.
Well, honestly, we thought about it before going into the Martha Washington. John Ed, Anthony, and Mr. John Gasper we sat down, talked about it. Sometimes when you're in Rome, you do what Romans do. And at the time, we thought, staying local is an advantage. You don't have to ship out. It was so cold. And then, luckily, at that time, I think we did the right decision because it was a little hard for some horses to get back for the Martha Washington. because of the snow and all the nasty weather we had. So at the time, it was a good decision. But when we ran, like in the Martha Washington, we didn't know if she was as fit as we needed her to be, or if it was just a dry track, or just like I said, we had a bad trip on that in that race. But coming back around to this time around, we decided again, John Anthony. Luckily for us, he has Lindsay Schultz that has a string down there, and we got to give a good thank you and appreciation for Lindsay for helping us take the filly down there and basically babysitting her for me down there with my brother. And that's how the decision came around, just to not to skip out on a work or a week of training. And like I said, it takes a community to make this work sometimes. And like I said, thank you to Lindsay and John Gasper too for making this decision.
And by calling that audible, how much credit do you think goes into that decision, and you reflect on the fact that she ran a career best? Do you think that helped her?
Absolutely, but it wasn't just the fact that, we're getting away from the weather. It was just a lot of things actually went well for us. Not only was our jockey that we had called to ride her in this race, Jose Ortiz, already established there. He's doing fantastic over there at the meet over there. So to bring the horse to him to work her,
sure,
rather than a jock come to my barn and work the horse, I think it helped him realize how special she is to us, and it gave him that test drive that you sometimes don't want to see in the afternoon. And I'm not saying that he's want to do it, but you don't know what you have underneath you until you're racing. And I think that at this level, in this race, at that time, I don't want to find out what you think of my horse. I need you to go in there knowing. And Jose had 100% permission to let her down that long stretch at the fairgrounds. And he got to see what she really had underneath him.
And she worked 58-4, so a fast time, at least that was the official timing. Now, transfer yourself a week later. You're in the paddock, Quietside saddled. Jose comes out to you. What do you tell him?
We didn't talk much, really. We just shook hands, talked a little, goofed around a little bit. Talked about his trip all the way over here because he couldn't fly, so he had to carpool with all the other guys.
I heard about that. Yeah, he drove right back there after the races on Sunday.
We were laughing. But no, when we got serious, we talked about it. I told him, look, you know the horse, you got the key to the horse. I was like, you know that she's got to turn her foot and you got speed in her. I said, use it wisely, whether it's down the stretch, in the middle of the turn, or in our case, leaving the gates. She had a little bobble coming out of the gate. 5Gs came out in front of us. Luckily, she cleared us, and we just were able to follow her in pattern.
A very good effort, obviously. Pressed the pace. 5G, the runner-up finisher in the Honeybee, which you're taking a look on the screen right now. This stretch run of Quietside getting the job done. Obviously, Johnny, you're now really on the road to the Kentucky Oaks with 50 points picked up for the Kentucky Oaks there with that win in the Honeybee. What's the next logical spot for this filly? Because let's just say you train her to the Kentucky Oaks. That's coming off a light layoff. It's not a long layoff, but it'd be coming off a layoff. So she's run twice already at this meeting. A lot of trainers, they tend to run horses one more time after a February race before the big one.
Yeah, no, and we came in here, well, the way I've been trying to race planner, and I've been working my way back from the Oaks from the very beginning.
Okay.
She broke her maiden, then I worked back from the spinaway because that was my second. I needed to get a double in there, go back-to-back years winning that race. But after that race, I knew where we were going. She wants more distance. I knew she was capable of it, but she has to mature. And so from then on, we knew to work backwards from the Oaks. I wanted to run her very lightly early in her career. We spaced a lot of her races out, and then coming down here, we decided to skip the Mistletoe. The end of the year. I'm sorry, it was the end of the year.
The year's end stakes.
Yeah, that one. And we decided to skip that one in preparation for the Martha Washington because we wanted to get the Martha Washington, the Fantasy, and the Honeybee, and then the Fantasy. So those are the plan so far. So we should be, like we said, when in Rome, you do what the Romans do, and the race is right here. Mr. John Ed is a local, and what a better place to win pick up all your points where we do so best.
I'm sure he was thrilled to be a part of that Honeybee victory. Of course, Shortleaf Stable, the owner and breeder of Quietside, and we've seen them do very well over the decades, really. So Mr. Anthony, a staunch supporter of horse racing. Obviously, Quietside, very nice performance. Congratulations on that. You've got more than one stable star, though, luckily for you. You've got Quietside. You've also got the old pro, the sprinter, Happy as a Choice, who won the Ring the Bell Stakes, believe it or not, last year in December, but earlier this season. He is pointing for the Grade 3 Whitmore. I saw you talking about that on the backstretch the other morning. Tell us a little bit about Happy as a Choice, and what did you think of his last race? Because he ran second last race behind Tejano Twist. And all things considered, he ran well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This horse has just been a barn favorite since he came in as a 2-year-old. At first I thought he was a little too big. He is a little too big, actually. But as a 2-year-old, we got him out of the 2-year-old sales, and he just looked like he was taking his time developing. And, we had to back off of him after that win at when he broke his maiden at Keeneland, which was really impressive. It let me know how much talent he actually really had. Skip forward, we're over here. We run the Ring the Bell. This horse has just matured so much throughout the years, and he seems to only be getting better and better. Last race, I think Ramon came back to the barn the next day and talked to me. I thought he ran a good race. Obviously, you don't want to run second. You always want to win, but respectably, the horse is a good horse. He had a good number after the in the rags and the Bayer number. So I knew the horse ran his best race. But we came back, and Ramon and I sat down in the office, and he just told me he was riding with so much confidence. He believed in this horse. He thought he was loaded. He had it won. And he took a look back, and I think we didn't realize that the horse was already on the move on the outside. Tejano Twist, give him credit because he's a great sprinter, closing sprinter, which is incredible for any horse to do, going that fast and then to catch up to that pace. So credit due where credit is required. And but I like the fact that that's what we talked about. That we were sitting on such a good horse at a really good moment, but very confident to win the race, but we just missed our opportunity, and I'm glad Ramon was able to pick up on that, and we look forward to a better performance next out.
When you think about Quietside, she lost to Take Charge My Lady in the Martha Washington. Then she comes back and turns the tables on Take Charge My Lady. What does Happy as a Choice need to do to turn the tables on a horse like Tejano Twist?
No, I don't think there's much the horse needs to do. Like I said, it's really the pilot, and I think Ramon knows this horse so well. Like I said, and the fact that he comes back and we revisited the race together, and we'll correct our mistakes if we want to call them that. But I think there's nothing we needed to correct, just to ride the race, and like I said, with confidence, but also focus with the finish line.
That is Happy as a Choice. He's going to be running in the Grade 3 Whitmore, the road to the Count Fleet. A very cool horse, obviously. I mean, he comes off the track. I saw you holding him yesterday or the other day, and he looked just like he was having a blast out there.
Yeah, he's a big, powerful horse, and he's very flashy out there.
Well, there is one horse that I thought was very flashy in the mornings. We have Oaklawn workouts on oaklawn.com/racing/workouts. And his name is I'm McDreamy, who's actually running next week in a first-level allowance going to Route of Ground. He got bet in his last start last month at 9-2, went off at just over 4-1. And Johnny, I wanted to ask you what you thought of that race, because it looked like he had more than one excuse as to why you finished in midfield that day.
Yeah, he sure did. I'll be honest with you. I'm very grateful for Mr. John that he's been interested in me with this horse, and we've had this horse for about a year now, and he's just been so talented in the mornings. He shows a lot of speed, very classy horse, very well built. I told him that this horse is going to be really good in the future. Ramon also has been working him in the mornings before his maiden and has been in love with him. And, when he broke his maiden after 2 starts, and he broke his maiden at Turfway, wire to wire, going a mile, we knew the distance was going to be the key, and he proved it to be true. Now, when we came down here, again, the weather wasn't helping us. We missed some training. But when he did start, the track happened to be a little bit dry. And again, I hate blaming everything. There's always an excuse for everything. But when you watch the race, the ground broke underneath him. He completely slid behind, and he tried to catch himself. But at the time, the race was already started. Closing at a mile here at Oakland is almost unheard of. Short stretch, horses are going to be running fast early, and usually you don't see many horses back up here. But to see McDreamy come by and actually pick up a lot of ground and finish the way he did, to me, I thought that was a winning effort. Unfortunately, we just missed the break, or we didn't have a good start. Moving forward, I think a good track for him, would be ideal and perfect.
And on this show, I've got a clocker pick of the week every week, and he's my clocker pick of the week.
Wow,
so we're going to actually show this up on the screen right now. Johnny, the viewers are taking a look at this here, his workout. Tell us how he works in the morning, because to my eye, he looks like just a very push-button horse that has some natural speed from this workout on the screen. But tell us a little more about him.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a push button, and that's exactly how I describe him. I've told Mr. John the same thing. This horse is just very classy. He knows how good he is, but he doesn't throw it out there. He's not rebellious. He's not hard to ride, and that's what Ramon loves about him too. Johnny is like, I ask him, he gives me just what I need, and if I go all out, he'll give me all out. He's just a very classy horse in general, and I think he's got a bright future.
Well, that does it, folks. Johnny Ortiz, thanks for coming by. On the day of this recording, it's Johnny's birthday, so happy birthday to you. Thank you for spending your birthday here on the set for at least a few minutes with us. Looks like you've got a lot to look forward to as we move along into the Oakland meet, Johnny.
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you very much.
Johnny Ortiz, great to have him on the desk here, our very first interview guest for the show, and we're looking forward to having more of these types of interviews on Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, and hopefully with a lot of other people throughout the weeks to come here in our Oakland meeting in 2025. Of course, we need to talk about the feature race on such a big card on Rebel Day. Yes, the $1.25 million Rebel Stakes for 3-year-olds going 1 1/16 miles. 14 were entered. Earlier in the week before the Rebel, it was announced that Bullard from the Michael McCarthy barn shipped in. He came up with a bit of a temperature, so the Connections opted to wait and give him another day. Of course, these horses need to be 100% in order to run in these races, and the Connections doing the right thing to make sure that he's okay, and that we'll see him another day, but just not on Rebel Day. So he was out, but still a field of 13 were assembled, and we're ready to rumble in the starting gate here. Sandman went off favored, number 3 in this race, after a really tough trip, especially at the start. A lot of people talked about the start of the Southwest, where Christian Torres did a heck of a job just to stay on him after a terrible stumble, and Sandman went off favored in this Rebel Stakes. Now, if you take a look at the replay right here, out of the gate, everybody breaks okay with the exception of Admiral Dennis, who was very slow to go. Matticat Road for the Bob Baffert barn. Irad Ortiz Jr. right away put this horse on the lead, and they set very fast fractions. 22 and change, 45 and change, super quick fractions in this race. And with that, the field really strung out pretty well. Matticat Road continued those fast clips, but at the end of the day, he had to settle for second because Cole Battle, that gutsy little colt, Cole Battle, getting it done for the Lonnie Briley barn. Once again, he won the Smarty Jones here in early December, or rather late December, and he also won the Springboard Mile before that effort. He was purchased for $70,000, a son of Colefront, and one thing about him, he's like the little engine that could. This horse just shows up, you put him in whatever spot you ask him to, whether it's on the lead like he was in the Smarty Jones, from off the pace here in the Rebel, and he just runs his race, and he ran down Matticat Road with Juan Vargas, his regular jockey, in the saddle. I think this horse, first of all, is just a really cool horse. He's one of these old throwback horses. He's not flashy, but he does everything necessary to run big and to win, and we've seen him win 4 in a row now for Lonnie Briley and his team. Lonnie Briley's done a phenomenal job, of course, a horseman from Louisiana that has a lot of experience in the racing game, and he has done a tip-top job making sure that this horse is fit, ready, and healthy, and also fresh out of these hard races. He does have to run very hard. I saw him in the winner's circle after the race, huffing and puffing. He ran hard, but this is what this horse likes to do. He likes to run hard, and he likes to to win. So Cold Battle, not a fluke, obviously, in that Smarty Jones win. Obviously not a fluke in the Springboard Mile. And he went off at a price again and paid a good price to win the Rebel Stakes of 2025. Some people are now saying, well, maybe he doesn't want to go a mile and a quarter. I question that. Well, at this point in time, I don't think there's any reason to question what Cold Battle is doing out there, whether he can go a mile and a quarter. He shows up, he runs, and he wins. So we'll find out if he wants a mile and a quarter down the road. But for now, we can appreciate this horse for who he is, which is a hard-trying horse. And, of course, a really feel-good story. A lot of big-name trainers, Bob Baffert, Brad Cox, Todd Pletcher, Chad Brown. They win a lot of big races here in the United States, but you don't often see a trainer like Lonnie Briley come in and have these big names get walloped by the little engine that could in a horse like Cold Battle. So I think it's a really cool story, and it just goes to show in horse racing that you can find a horse at a sale, whether it be for $5 million, $1,000. This horse was a $70,000 purchase whose pedigree didn't really scream out at all. But you can find a gem in the rough, and you can find a champion at any type of sale, in any state, any type of breeding. You just never know when you're going to find one. So that dream stays alive for so many people, and they're reminded by a win like Cold Battle that that dream is always there for the taking. Maybe you can have the next horse, the next superstar. Matticat Road, speaking of big stable stars, I thought he ran a very, very good race. He's not one of Bob Baffert's main players, but he is a horse that has ability. They've always liked him, and last time out he went to the lead, went very quick. Maybe was aided by this speed bias on Rebel Day, but he ran a very good second. I think the disappointment in the race, we'll talk about Sandman in just a second, but Speed King, the Southwest winner, for the first time in his life, stalked a very fast pace, but he'd never not been on the lead in 3 lifetime starts, and he failed to fire down the lane. I don't know what to make of that. I think maybe, yes, he might have bounced, but he still ran poorly, and he ran in the mornings working like a horse that was ready to run a good race. So for me, I think that maybe they reevaluate with Speed King, A, whether he needs the lead, but also B, will he be best at a route distance where there's a fast pace and he has to stalk it, or is maybe he better in the long run cutting back in distance? Sandman, we mentioned him, he ran third. If you really watch his race, I think that he broke fine this time around. He got a good trip and was just third best. He sort of grinded along for third, came with a nice run late. He was a little bit green down the lane. Make sure to take a look at the head-on view if you're able to from in front of the horses as they're coming towards you, because he was still drifting around a little bit down the lane. He's one of these sons of Tappets that just, it's taken him a little while to figure out exactly what he's doing out there. Distance will be his friend for sure. He's the type of horse, if I were to make an early Belmont Stakes pick, it could very well be him. I think he's going to love more distance, and I think he's going to stay on, and I think he can improve with time. I'm not disencouraged by Sandman's effort in the Rebel. So it was a great day, Rebel Day here. We had 36,000 people on track. Over $21 million was bet on Oaklawn's Rebel 12 race card. So just a phenomenal day of racing. And remember, in late March, we've got the Arkansas Derby, and we're very likely to see Cold Battle in the Arkansas Derby, along with possibly Sandman. Maybe another Bob Baffert horse will come this way, and that is going to do it for the Rebel Stakes analysis. We've got one more thing to talk about, and this is this week's racing, Friday through Sunday racing, first post each day, 12:30, and the Saturday feature on the program, we shine light on the Arkansas breds. 11 races on Saturday, and this is race 9 on Saturday, the Down the Dusty Road Breeders' Stakes for Arkansas bred filly and mare sprinters. And the big headliner there is number 1, Holland Ice, who was a very impressive allowance winner here at Oaklawn Park earlier in the meet in December, was recently seen running 5th in the Grade 2 Inside Information at Gulfstream Park for trainer Safi Joseph Jr., shipping this horse back to Arkansas. She's going to be low odds. She's going to be very tough to beat. So there's not a ton to say there in terms of main contenders. Holland Ice, she's got that mark on her head as the one to beat. We go to Sunday's card with a 10-race program on Sunday. Race number 7 is going to be the feature race. It's the No Double Breeders' Stakes for Arkansas-bred sprinters, 3-year-olds and upward. 7 are entered there, a very competitive race. 110 Stadium is in the race, coming off a very nice allowance win. Lockmore has done some very good work here at Oaklawn Park. 3rd start off a layoff for him. He should be fresh, ready to run, and very fit third start in the form cycle. And finally, Midnight Taxes for the Chris Hartman barns, one you want to consider in this 7-horse field. A very good field for the Double Breeders' Stakes. Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing action. First post each day, 12:30. 10 races on Friday, 11 on Saturday, and coming back with 10 races on Sunday afternoon. Another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman complete, folks. Really happy to have had Johnny Ortiz here with us as our special guest this week, and hopefully we can have many more interviews just like that. It's been a pleasure, folks. We'll look forward to seeing you at the races on Friday through Sunday this week at Oaklawn Park, and we'll see you next week for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman. Have a great rest of your day.